Okay, so now I'm going to do some dry brushing of the green to try and bring out the corners a bit more. I'm using an old bottle of Gretchen green to make this pop a bit. I'm not 100% sure this is going to have that much impact, but it should have some. Because quite honestly, the impact of the contrast paint is actually pretty good for the highlighting on this guy. This isn't going to need much at all. This might just level out some of the highlighting a bit though. Give them a bit more, make the highlighting a bit cleaner. Well, that's an annoying thing, because that's got so many different perpendicular lines on it. Doesn't really want to work with the standard dry brushing technique. Let's do some of the shoulder pad. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, do a bit up here. Mostly I'm actually really happy with the dry brushing of the contrast paint. This just sort of softens that a little bit. Makes it not quite so severe. Okay, so now I'm just doing a very small amount of blue. This is again a dry brush. This is a new blue though. This is Chronos blue, which is what I used on the Blood Angels black power fists to just highlight up the black a little bit. So I'm going to just do that on this guy's gun. Just make it pop a little bit. Okay, and I'm also going to do a little bit with a thin brush in the middle. So same paint, just rather than being a dry brush, actually using a very thin brush. Just to try and get some of these thinner spots in the middle of the rail rifle. You don't want much, you just want a subtle touch. Okay, that just makes that pop a little bit more. I also use this same blue on the legs down here, but my camera ran out of battery again, and so I accidentally did that without filming it, so sorry about that. And so now I'm going to do the last thing that I need to do, which is dry brush his pants. I'm going to be using Camry Brown, which is again an older paint. Might not be able to find this one specifically, but it gives quite a nice highlighting effect. I use this on most of my leathers. It seems a bit runny today though. Okay. Fix up his butt. Inners. Okay, and then try and brush his fingers. Might go to a smaller brush for this one as well. And just making sure to keep everything perpendicular to where you're trying to highlight, just to help that definition come through. Okay, so he's actually looking pretty good. Just got this little shoulder part to do, which doesn't have a lot of detail, but can maybe do to mellow a bit. Okay, so there we go. And that's the leathers. So with the metallics, I haven't really done anything with them yet, but I'm just gonna give each of them a little blob of shading, just to make them look cooler, give them better outlines, although put much on some of those, so just using the brush to absorb some of that shading. And then I'm going to do some shading in here. And on each of these energy packs. This side of the gun, and that's way too much. Let's put some of that back. Okay, that's better. Bit on that here, bit on these components. This little bit on the back plate, more of the power cells, and lastly on this power cell. Okay, so again, got a little bit too much running away. Come back here. That's alright. It's not going to detract from the model. It'll just make it have more shading. Okay. I think that's all the points that I've given metallics to. Okay, so one of the little details that I wanted to add in on this guy is in his eye. I wanted it to actually have a nice blue gemstone effect. And one of the things you need to do that is put in some very shiny silver, which I'm also using as highlight on these power conduits, just because I think it'll make them pop a little bit. Okay, so the silver that I'm using for this is mithril silver, and it is so shiny that I actually find it is a bit glaring with for normal silver highlighting. So this is my normal silver dry brush, Necron Compound. It is a brighter silver than bolt gun metal, but it is nothing on old school mithril silver, which is just so vivid. But the mithril silver is fantastic for using as a base on soul stones. These are technical paints that make really nice sort of gem effects. So I've just put some Necron Compound on my brush. I'm just going to highlight up the other bits of silver. It's slightly duller, but it actually is the effect that I want. Okay. Alrighty. So that's all the silver highlighting. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a little bit of layer of brass scorpion to all the coppery brass bits, just to make them a little bit less orange, more earthy, I guess. Just adds a nice extra layer of depth, which you really wouldn't think would matter on these tiny little bits, but just makes things come to life so much more. No, that I wasn't going to do. We've got this gun part, and this little bit on the back of his head, these last two bits. Okay, so very quick little bit there. And then the very last bit on those bronzy bits is I'm going to use some golden griffin. Now this stuff might actually appear gold, I mean it's in the name, but it's actually a really sort of pale gold and works really well as, I find, brushed copper. So something that's been touched too many times by people going past it or whatever, and so it's sort of worn it away a little bit, and it just adds a nice last layer of depth. And it doesn't take much. Most of you may not even know what I'm talking about, but I swear it does add just an extra bit of something to these copper pieces. But you have to use it sparingly, because if you use it too much, it'll just overpower the entire copper and you'll lose all the layering that you've done. Okay, so last little thing for him is the gemstone blue. for his eye. And I'm also going to actually show how to paint the base on this guy, which I didn't do for the Blood Angel Terminator, and I felt really bad that I'd missed it, so I'm going to make sure I do it on this guy. Alright, so this stuff you kind of just want to put a blob on. So there's only 3 of these gemstone colours. There's blue, red and green. So they're very limited, but they add this lovely glassy effect to things that they get put on, and it just gives them a lot of life, and they're really high sheen. They don't end up matte colour. They keep that level of shininess on the eye the whole way through. Okay, so pretty much the only thing left to do is the base.